Kim K joins the billionaire class. Azeris complain about Armenians not sharing minefield maps. And one of the candidates for prime minister in the upcoming election doesn't believe in elections. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Sovereign Artsakh. I'm Michael Gavlak, a Hollywood producer who is focused on Armenia and all things Armenian, and the Armenian genocide in particular. And before I read through these articles real quickly, I want to encourage you to share this channel, share this video, click subscribe if you haven't already, and click the like button. That's the simplest thing you can do right now, is click the like button. Spread the word. Also a reminder, at the end of each episode, for the time being, I'm going to be talking about more detail about Soghomon Tehlirian. Those of you who know who that is, I'm sharing details about what he was going through 100 years ago. He had just assassinated the architect of the Armenian genocide. He was sitting in a jail cell. And I'm sharing a little bit of detail because I've been researching that in depth. All right, so Kim K, arguably the most famous Armenian. In fact, so many people know her. I'd say the majority of people who know who she is actually don't realize she's Armenian. And I will just attest to that. My brother, he's in his mid-30s. 3 years ago when I started researching the Armenian genocide, I called him up and I said, "Hey, have you ever heard of an Armenian?" He goes, "No." Much less the Armenian genocide. He had never even heard of Armenian. That's an average American guy. What's an Armenian? And then I mentioned Kim Kardashian. He says, yeah, I know who that is. So I would argue that the majority of people who know who she is don't actually realize she's Armenian. I know all the Armenians out there will be like, what? But that's the fact. And that's kind of some part of what I want to change here. Not that people know that Kim Kardashian is Armenian, but that people understand what an Armenian is and how their history is critically important to what I believe is the future of justice in this world. Recognition, not just for sovereignty for Artsakh, but recognition of the genocide of World War I. Okay, I do actually have a question. I'm going to pose it now, read through these articles, and I'll propose it again tomorrow. But I want you to begin contemplating, my viewers and those who comment in the comment section, if you had to make the choice between these two things, which one would you choose? One, the recognition of the Armenian genocide by the United States government, or the recognition of Artsakh as a sovereign state. If you could only have one of those two choices, which would it be? Recognition of sovereignty for this nation of Artsakh by the United States government, or the U.S. government recognizing officially that the massacre of Christians and Armenians in World War I by the Ottoman Turks was a genocide, officially. All right. Go through this one real quick. This is kind of clickbaity. Kim Kardashian included in Forbes list of billionaires. I don't even need to read this, but still an American TV star businesswoman Kim Kardashian's net worth is over $1 billion and she has been included in the Forbes list of billionaires. Still in October, Kardashian's wealth was estimated at $780 million. So from October to March or April, she earned at least $220 million. But thanks to the production of KKW Beauty Cosmetics and Skims Underwear, as well as the reality show and a number of investments and deals, she was able to add to her wealth, bringing it to $1 billion. All right, well, that's cool. I know there's a few other Armenian billionaires, and that's nice. All right, let's move on to real news. So this I found this. This is Azer News, an Azeri website. So I just wanted to go here to hear what they're actually saying before I go to the Armenian point of view. Absence of minefield maps make it difficult to find mines in Azerbaijan's liberated lands. Okay, liberated lands is how they refer to Artsakh, what we are referring to as a nation of Armenians that needs to be recognized internationally. Azeris refer to as liberated lands. The absence of maps of minefields makes it difficult to find mines in the lands of Azerbaijan liberated from Armenian occupation. Representative of the Azerbaijan National Agency for Mine Action, Madat Mamadov, told Trans-Karabakh Bureau. He noted that Armenia has not yet given the minefield maps to Azerbaijan Demining of the Azerbaijani liberated territories is the most pressing issue that is under the close scrutiny of the Azerbaijani government. The Armenian side did not provide us with maps of mined territories, which complicate the search for mines. Yeah, duh. All right. Well, let me just read this. Azerbaijan agenda of minefield maps is fake. Let's see what she has to say. Press Secretary of the Foreign Ministry of Armenia, Anna Nagdalian, answered the question of journalists about the Azerbaijani accusations of the Armenian side of not providing maps of minefields of the territories fallen under the Azerbaijani control. Armenian press was informed from the press service of the MFA Armenia Ministry of, I don't know. The question: the Azerbaijani authorities in their recent statements accused the Armenian side of not providing maps of minefields of the territories fallen under the Azerbaijani control. How would you comment on those statements? Answer: as you know, the Azerbaijani authorities are blatantly violating the international humanitarian law and their commitments under the provisions of the November 9 statement to repatriate Armenian prisoners of war and civilians who are still being held in captivity. In fact, in response to the pressure of the international community on this side, the Azerbaijani side is trying to create grounds for justifying its non-compliance by putting forward a fake agenda of minefield maps. The fact that the Azerbaijani officials are raising this issue exclusively in the public field is a case in point. Throughout the conflict, the Azerbaijani side didn't make any proposal to cooperate on demining issues. Moreover, it made every effort to disrupt the implementation of demining programs in Armenia and Artsakh. It is enough to recall that Azerbaijan in 2016 blocked the extension of the mandate of the OSCE office in Yerevan under the pretext of the latter's support to demining programs, which led to the closing of the OSCE field missions in Armenia. We call on the Azerbaijani authorities to refrain from such attempts to mislead the international community and undertake tangible steps to fulfill its commitments undertaken by the November 9 Trilateral Statement and under the international humanitarian law, which entails the immediate unconditional release of all prisoners of war, captured civilians, and their repatriation. So, Armenia's stance is that Azerbaijan is distracting from the true issues at hand by bringing up this minefield issue. Now, I, for one, would wholly, if it's true, would wholly support Armenia withholding minefield maps from Azerbaijan. Absolutely. I have no problem with that. Azerbaijan is saying, that we're supposed to, how can we safely demine these fields if they don't give us the maps? Well, how about you turn loose? How about you abide by the agreements, this trilateral agreement? How about you start following those, don't distract from something that's apparently, several years old, distract by bringing up this issue when you guys are already violating the international humanitarian law. All right. That's just my comment about that. Here's the first thing I wanted to talk about. And this, if you can figure this out, comment in the comment section for me. I haven't been following exactly. I know there's new elections coming up in Armenia in June 20th. And Pashinyan has declared that he will resign, and that's part of that deal. They can't act. His resignation is what's supposed to officially, legally trigger this new election. And then there's multiple parties that would put candidates forward, and whichever candidate wins will be the new prime minister. That's my understanding of what this election is. So, Armenia opposition movement candidate for prime minister, that would presumably be one of the candidates up for election. I do not accept elections. And I guess this is a picture of the guy. I didn't watch this video. I just read this article. I'm like, okay, I do not accept elections. Okay, how can you be a candidate for prime minister without accepting elections? Let me just read it. It makes a little bit of sense, but it is still confusing. I think I get what the point is. These 44 days were not a war, referring to the war from September 27th to November 9th, 2020. These 44 days were not a war. They were a slaughterhouse. Indeed. All the media outlets were shut down, and the Armenian authorities, were putting the youth under fire by the thousands. Vazgen Manoukian, the candidate for the post of Prime Minister of the Homeland Salvation Movement, which demands the resignation of Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan, stated this Tuesday during the movement's rally in Savan, Armenia. Will we forgive that? Okay, so this is a guy who wants Pashinyan to resign. Pashinyan has announced his resignation, and then there will be elections to replace him. And this guy's okay. All right, so he's complaining about this war. It was a slaughter. And that's kind of cut and dried. We all agree. It was a political quagmire as to what to do. Not to defend Pashinyan too much, but He was between a rock and a hard place, made more decisions. People always disagree with the politicians' decisions. So he's saying, will we forgive that? This is not a bad government that should be changed through elections. Your heart should be filled with hatred toward them. All right, it sounds like a contradiction. It's not a bad government that should be changed through elections. Your heart should be filled with hatred toward them. They destroyed our homeland. The only way to drive them away through the people. Oh, the only way is to drive them away through the people. What's an election? It sounds like he's not saying an election. I do not accept elections. The more forcibly we drive these authorities away, the more respect we will have for ourselves. Okay, it sounds like his answer is violent revolt. Drive them away. I do not accept elections. So an overthrow. That's the only way I can. The only way this makes sense is he's talking about a physical overthrow of the government. And now the authorities say that the roads are being opened. That is, did you deliberately lose the recent war to open the roads? That's how it turns out. You live badly, you will live worse. This road leads there, he said. Also, Manoukian expressed confidence that the snap parliament elections slated for June 20 will bring nothing to Armenia except for damage. If we do not change the situation drastically, Armenia will slowly die, he added. Okay. So I don't know. I don't know if this is the party he represents is what, the Homeland Salvation Movement. I don't know how big that is. I don't know what percentage of Armenians are a part of that political party, but this is their guy. This would, if the elections went through and he was elected, would you then accept elections? I don't know. So help me, if you can, explain what he's saying, what he means, and if my take is right. He's calling for a violent overthrow of the government rather than elections. All right. Now, let's finish again before I talk about Solomon some more. Subscribe and share. Subscribe right now. Click that red subscribe button. Share this video. Share the channel. Click the like button now. Okay. In some of the previous episodes, I talked about Solomon and wasn't sure at what point he was transferred from the jail to the prison. So he assassinates Talat Pasha on March 15th, 1921, exactly 100 years ago and a couple of weeks, right? 100 years and a couple of weeks ago. So we're in the 100-year anniversary. It was March 15th. He gets thrown in jail. And my translator, who recently finished translating the memoir, is currently translating his prison diaries. And I got an installment of that over the weekend, or at the beginning of the weekend, just before Easter, and was reading through his entries in the prison diary. I'm not going to go through them in detail right now, but I will. But it cleared up a couple questions I had. When was he transferred from the jail to the prison? And when did he first meet with lawyers? And so I will just say it was on his second day. He spent only, I think, 2 nights in the local jail and then was transferred to the prison. And he describes how when he was first brought in, he's manhandled, he's roughed up, prisoners are not treated well. They must have done something wrong. And so the prison guards are not exactly polite to them. But he didn't, within a day, he noted a marked change in their demeanor, that he was actually treated with very much respect after word spread around the jail who this guy was. That didn't come through in the memoir, but in his daily account in the diary, he makes mention of that. And I find that fascinating, that he was kind of celebrity among the prisoners and the guards, that this guy had done something very significant, and it seemed that they were on his side, and he was heartened by that. Also, he mentions a lawyer coming in early on. I think it's like it might have been the second day before he's transferred to the prison. A lawyer shows up and says, I've been, somebody obtained my services for you. And Solomon is like, well, go to the Armenian ambassador and make sure, I'm not going to accept unless it's authorized through the official, channels. And this guy comes back, and he hadn't. Soghomon keeps pushing off this attorney, and then finally, within second or third week that he's in the prison, he authorizes two attorneys. He ended up having 3 in total, and I think these 2 attorneys that he signed off and approved are 2 of the ones that represented him. All right, that's it. Remember to share and subscribe, and click the like button now.